In this episode, we challenge the illusion of appearances and explore the deeper truth that the light reveals when we look with wisdom, discernment, not just with our eyes. Welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Gates, and over there in London is my boy, Michael Perry.
Hey, fam.
So I don't know if we did this topic before, but it sure feels like we did it differently if we did. But what made me want to talk about this was in our last recording, Michael and I were kind of just talking after the show, and we really kind of started talking about appearances. So you and I were talking about how when people approach me, they get kind of weird.
Right.
Because I look big and tough and scary, but really I'm not all that much. So, we judge a books by a cover. And then you were saying when people approach you, you look really sweet and innocent and
Yeah.
So that made me want to talk about appearances today. And I know the axiom we're talking about is never be taken in by appearances. That which is extremely beautiful can be extremely dangerous. But we're going to kind of go beyond that today. We're also going to talk about, just really judging people by their covers, by what they look like or kind of how they feel when you first meet them. And sometimes that's a good thing, to be weary of people if their energy is like, kind of off or whatever. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
But
Well, and there's so much out there. I mean, when it comes down to it, we live in a society that's so driven by physical beauty.
mm-hmm.
And I know I'm guilty of it, where it's like the clothes you're wearing, the demeanor you present, that RBF, and you know what I'm talking about. That is where we
they
get
see
our...
it in the videos, or I'm listening to you and I'm just like, and I don't mean to. I'm just right.
their own beliefs about you. So from that point on, it's a lot harder to steer their perspective from that. And yeah, some of that's mannerisms and the way you carry yourself and your attitudes, but a lot of it is just physical appearance.
Yeah.
And I know I personally have been guilty when it comes to like relationships, where it's like I'm talking with some girl, I'm looking to get in a relationship, and I'm not focusing on what's important. And that leads to a lot of chaos after.
It can. And we certainly will explore that today because, this just isn't a surface beauty thing. As we get into this, we're going to talk about how most or many aspects of our life really hinge on this sometimes because we don't take enough time to really understand what we're looking at or what we're feeling or what we're seeing, not just with our eyes, with our ears, So, and this axiom is not a rejection of beauty. It's telling us to be cautious. So, shiny, sparkly things can dazzle and they can blind us. And there's lots and lots and lots of stories of, most of them probably myths but whatever, right?
Right.
Where beauty can enchant and mislead us. Not all that shines is good. Not all that shines is good. So, and not all that looks virtuous is virtuous or is truly there for your greater good. So this teaching reminds us to cultivate that discernment. It's something we talk about a lot because it's very important on this path. So,
I think one of the most important things, like to sum up what this whole episode's virtually going to be about, is you can use the book cover to gain some insight into someone's personality, to gain some insight. Someone's wearing a Slipknot shirt, they probably like metal music and probably know how to express themselves. Right? But at the same time, it does not mean that they're an angry person or that they're abusive or anything like that. So it's learning to discern. Instead of trying to make judgments, it's giving us information.
Right. Yes. And that's what this axiom is kind of warning us about, is that it's the danger of judging things, whether they're beautiful or not, judging the things on the surface and just accepting that as truth without really kind of using discernment or, awareness. So, and it's urging us to look beyond what makes us feel good, what's pleasing and what's charming and what's alluring or, these things. So, and so many times you see things that sound good, or look good. And this just isn't people. It's like advertisements, right? Boy, they really do a great job of kind of drilling into us. They know the things that we like. They know the things that we make us feel good or feel happy, especially on the surface, because your advertisements are 30 seconds or something. They have 30 seconds to kind of suck you into an idea or an experience or whatever.
Well, it's like I read this book about a year ago called 15 Reasons We are 15 reasons we don't change, or how to change and 15 reasons why we don't.
Mm.
And it goes into marketing and how one of the biggest issues in society today is everyone is chasing that golden egg and that one magic pill, that magic cure, whether it's aging, mental health, lifestyle, finances. Everyone is looking for the quick fix.
Yeah.
And advertising is really good at selling the quick fix. Doesn't mean that's what you're buying, and it ties right into this axiom where don't let appearances deceive you.
Mm-hmm.
Because so much of this world, we all want that instant gratification and want the path of least resistance. But unfortunately, if you want to build something great, there's a lot of structure you're going to have to build to get there.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So what are some of the illusions? I wanted to talk about some of the next. Let's talk about some of the illusions of the surface things, those surface level judgments.
Are we talking about our own judgments we make of people?
Yes. Or people, or of the things that draw us in just based on their surface, or just based on super limited information that we have. What kind of illusions are going on when we are sucked into that?
So I know you and I come from we come from the two separate sides when it comes to our different healing journeys. I came from the nice guy, people pleaser, and you came from the overly self-asserting. So
Right.
I don't know if this will resonate with you or not. One of my greatest weaknesses in this area is not being discerning enough, not taking enough people's actions as who they are and not their words.
Mm.
And I tell you what, that was one of my greatest weaknesses up until like the last couple years, is too often would I base my understanding on people based on their spoken values and spoken personalities.
Right.
Which, don't get me wrong, there's a grain of truth and there's a level of desire to become those things.
Sure.
But that is not who that's not who a person is. A person is someone who walks the walk that they talk.
Right. Not when we first met, but when we first started talking more about working together and going through the teachings together, you had the luxury of seeing me, for many years. Every time you see me, I was who I said I was. I live the teachings. They come out in me, in my interactions with all kinds of different people online. I'm the same. So, I think that's kind of what you're talking about, where
you had the consistency there. You aligned with what I believed about you.
Right.
And it's like, I've met plenty of spiritual people who promise they know what's best and how to be in alignment. Right. And it's just like, man, you're selling an ego trip right now. Like, all right, I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't smell good. And many of those people, I had this conversation many moons ago with another former student. We got into this topic of spiritual ego. It's like, oh, you killed your ego. Oh, I'm free. But then they have a lot of spiritual ego. They just kind of on that platform of ego, and they jump and they're free and they fall face first onto the spiritual ego.
I'd even say spiritual ego is worse than regular ego too, because you feel like you're above reproach.
Yeah, well, and then you start thinking you're better than anyone and whatever else. So because I know more than you, or I've been granted this title that makes me above you and all this and that. And Revan, move. Enough. No. Revan's being a little punk today, guys. She's just not listening. She's in a mood, aren't you? Huh? You know more than us? Is that what it is? She's over here huffing and puffing too. So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think one of the big things for me too, because they say you can't meet someone deeper than you've met yourself. And I have reflected on that quote so many times since I started this journey. Yeah. And I've really come to see one of the biggest reasons I would see people for their potential and not who they were. Mm. And a big part of that was the masks they wore, because I never realized I was wearing masks.
Right.
So I would try to personify my potential without embodying just who I am and where I'm at in life. And in turn, that blinded me to seeing other people doing the same thing because of my own ignorance towards myself. Right. I mean, everything's a mirror within this, the paradigms. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the biggest traps I was in, was I was constantly trying to show the world that I was more than I was when I was enough as I was. But in turn, all I saw people for was the same personification everyone else was doing.
Yeah. And listen, we live in a world that's obsessed with images and success and instant gratification, as you said earlier. And it's really easy to fall prey to these illusions, because we may not be raised in this way to make snap judgments, but we certainly are conditioned to. We're kind of beat down in this really, really busy life to just go decision, 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 decision without any kind of discernment or any kind of thoughtfulness or mindfulness. And those usually come out as judgments, because that's that judgment is the fastest way to go from here to there. It takes effort to not go to a judgment. So we might.
When I read about this in psychology, it's our minds are wired so that, again, it's the path of least resistance, but it's on a much more unconscious level. Our brain is constantly looking for ways to connect dots to make us have to use as little thought process as necessary to understand something. And so it'll make these, and unconsciously, we will make these determinations, opinions, judgments. We will start wiring this in our minds whenever we see something, because our brains are trying to keep us focused on what's important in front of us, and often it's not discerning the people we are meeting.
Right.
It's more focused on survival and making sure that you're doing what you need to be in a good light. And so, yeah, there's an unconscious root of what does this. And the more we become mindful of it, the more we can stop it from being our opinions, because that's what we're talking about here. This is part of that unlearning right here.
Yes.
Where we're stopping these judgments. And it doesn't mean I judge you to be a bad person, but it can be a judgment of, you got RBF, resting face, and I'm going to automatically assume you're an angry, spiteful person, and I don't want to be around you because you look angry all the time. When realistically, it's their demeanor. That's just how they look.
Right. Well, sometimes I'll be looking at something, like if I want to read something, sometimes I have to really focus in, and it looks like, I mean, my own wife does it to me all the time, to this day, and she knows me better than anybody on this planet. So let's talk real quick about these surface level judgments, how they blind us to truth. Because we're all about truth. That's what Ashla is. And we might assume, and I'm going to go the other way with this. You're talking about someone with RBF, how people are either scared of them or think they're angry all the time or whatever. But we might assume that someone who's super confident, or at least presents confidence, is wise, or that wealth equals success, or that beauty guarantees these privileges across the world. But really, think about this. If you think about a con man, right? Do we even use that word anymore? I don't know. I haven't heard it in a long time, but
no.
Someone who's a con artist, right? I mean, they present well. They're super sharp. They're well dressed. Their hair is high and tight, and everything looks perfect on them. They present with confidence, and so they suck people in really easy. And the most manipulative people often appear this way. They appear charming and gracious, and they're thanking you too much, and they're overly generous with their words, and stuff like this.
Yeah. Well, it's like narcissists, right? I mean, that's, I think, the modern day term, is we have these people who are they're so good at drawing people in and presenting this illusion of who they want to portray themselves as, when behind the scenes they're tyrannical, selfish, self-absorbed narcissists.
Yeah. Yes. And there's another axiom that kind of pairs with this that's going to help us go the distance here. Do not let others lead you to ruin. Always be your own person. This kind of gives us a shield when we're trying to discern whether this thing is, not too good to be true. And what's the old saying? If something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yep.
Right? And this axiom, and both of these axioms, really warn us that external appearances are not reliable measures of anything of substance, like integrity or wisdom or alignment. So to judge a person or an idea or a product or a cause, right? There's lots of causes these days. To judge them based on appearance or what they're presenting is to really kind of surrender your discernment, and you are inviting disillusionment. Like hardcore.
Seriously, though. I mean, discernment is one of the most important skills we can cultivate, because with discernment, we can allow ourselves to not be drawn into situations like this. Now, discernment doesn't mean being rigid in our acceptance of people, because that is the trap there. It is one extreme or the other. No, the middle ground is to accept all, but also go in, be wary, and get to know someone. Watch people. Don't hear them. Watch them.
Right. Yeah, because you really have to use all your senses here, including the senses that are beyond these physical senses. Our hearing, our sight. We're feeling the energy. We're using our intuition, and this is why. And if any of you out there are a used car salesman, please forgive this, but this is just kind of where people go. Everybody's trying to sell you a busted car, these people. And boy, they do a good job. Because they're like, oh, you point out a scratch. Oh, that's not a scratch. That's experience. This car has experience, And you kick the tire and one of the lug nuts pop off. Oh, you don't need all 6 of them. Just 5 is fine. This kind of thing. Just to understand what we're talking about, true insight requires us to slow down, to listen deeply. And again, that's with all of your senses, and letting your intuition reveal the truth that lies beneath this surface.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, because it will.
The intuition is so key in this, because you ever get that gut feeling? I've had that happen. I tell you what, I've had it happen multiple times, especially in relationships, where it's like my intuition is telling me, get the hell away from this person. Yeah. And I'm like, maybe this just means I'm that much more interested in them. All right, let's try this out. Yeah. So years later, like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, they call those red flags now, I think, right?
Yeah, right. But your intuition, once you start tapping into it, your intuition will help you discern people. Now, it's good to look at when your intuition's coming up. Is this intuition or insecurity? Am I being triggered right now? Or is my intuition giving me that silent nudge of, hey, be careful here?
Right. Yeah, 100%, dude. So let's talk about some of the dangers of enchantment. I want to talk about some spiritual ones, some psychological ones, and some emotional ones. So what are some psychological and emotional dangers of enchantment?
So I think one of the greatest ones is we all do it to a degree. We all try to weave these webs of an illusion. We want people to see our lives as good. We don't want to seem like we have all these issues going on. Attachment and toxic relationships has become my specialty in coaching. And one of the greatest faults, biggest traps, isn't just beauty, but it's how many people try to, when they find someone they're very interested in, try to mold themselves to this person's ideal person.
Right.
Or they try to put on a mask of, hey, no problems. Hey, I'm exciting. Hey, love bombing, whatever. And it's like, people are not taking the necessary time in relationships. And that's why there's so many toxic relationships, is they get stuck before the mask comes off. And it's like, oh my God, the person I'm dating is not the person I started dating. He changed a lot in this relationship. No, he just didn't show you who he really was. There's a lot of people I coach where it's like, hey, you need to take your time with this person. You're seeing these red flags. Doesn't mean you gotta leave, but you're not in a rush. It takes 6 to 9 months before you start seeing that mask chip away and you start seeing people's true colors. You're seeing these red flags now, just wait. The red flags you ignore in the beginning are the reasons you leave later.
Yeah, and they become reality, and then you're almost, depending on the situation, you're kind of stuck sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important to identify these potential things. Don't write somebody off, but really, really, really verify your feelings. If you have a gut feeling, consult your mind. Also, use your whole being to try and figure these things out, but don't linger too long, right? As you said, don't get yourself in a trap where maybe you moved in with a person and now you have nowhere to go, or you have all your assets and money and your things tied up with this person, and probably wasn't a good idea because maybe they steal it and run off or whatever. So
yeah.
But really what we're talking about, the psychological enchantment, the problems here, it's really an over-idealization of a person.
The pedestal, right?
The pedestal. Oh, the pedestal of a person or an idea or a cause or a group or whatever.
Yep. I'm a firm believer that when we have a relationship with anyone, we have a relationship with two people, who they are in our minds and who they really are. And the more of a gap there, the more you are going to be, you need to have that as close as possible, because you're going to be in a relationship with an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll get bored and it'll wear off, and then you'll see what's really in front of you.
Yeah.
We see this in kind of the really culty things, right? Like this charismatic authority figure who seem to always have all the answers, and they don't want you to go. Don't go over there. I have all the answers. I have your salvation. I am the only one who can do A, B, C, or D for you. And if you go and seek answers elsewhere, well, you're just going to be disappointed. Like we just talked about, romantic partners who we idolize instead of getting to know them and then learning to love and accept them for their faults and everything. And these belief systems that, well, also causes too, these belief systems and causes that offer this black and white certainty or identity.
Gosh,
right?
Well said.
So, and we see these a lot. And, you guys don't know this, but we're, we have plans, and we've kind of shared this before, but it was always very important to me that we put the path and the teachings and all of these things first before personality, because we're really, really, really trying to not allow this, as it grows, to fall into that kind of trap. Because I hope this continues on past my life expectancy. I hope it goes past yours. I hope we live to be really old people, but you and I can protect these things from these psychological dangers from this. But when we're gone, who's going to protect it? Hopefully, because we beat it to death, that the path is always more important than the personalities teaching it,
right,
living it. So there's a lot of, so just as an example, in many of the teachings there are, and in our kind of our constitutional document that we will use later, we make it very clear: you will not find salvation on this path. You will find alignment, enlightenment, perhaps truth, but you won't. I cannot save anyone. So it just puts the teachings and the truth in front of personalities, because in 50 years from now, I probably won't be here. Let's be honest. I might be, but I'll be really crotchety, I'm sure. You think I have this RBF now? Just imagine
just
when
you
I'm
wait.
when I'm 98, but no, I digress. But it's important to look out for these things with these very charismatic people, and people who want to be idolized, or these belief systems or causes that, this is the only way type thing. So what about emotional? What kind of emotional dangers do we have to enchantment?
I think this still ties into psychological, man. Some people will learn about your emotions, your triggers, about the things you enjoy, and they will use that as an effective way to coerce you to their side, to being interested, to sell you something. People will utilize your own emotional scale where you usually reside, and they will learn how to press those buttons and play those strings.
They will. Yeah. I just wanted to add that emotionally, enchantment often disguises itself or masks itself as love or awe or inspiration, or it's destined. You heard that?
Yeah.
We are destined to be together.
Oh yeah.
Really? This destiny sucks. Sometimes
We're twin flames.
How do I jump off this train? Because I don't want whatever lies in front of me now, because this is really crappy, because I'm not gaining anything or growing or whatever. But these kinds of things can lead to attachment, and really like attachment to this fantasy or illusion, instead of a connection to what's really happening, meeting reality where it is.
Yeah.
Emotional dependency. We've talked about that a lot, because that kind of really gums us up, and it really hurts us, when we have this emotional dependency on people or a cause or a group, anything outside of us.
Yeah.
And, also this emotional enchantment, when it becomes, really, really too much, we start to avoid our inner world.
Yeah.
We just want everything outside of us. And that really kind of leaves a hole in us.
I know I've fallen prey to that before. You try to make yourself as small as you can to fit in other people's lives, and that is a way to destroy yourself.
Right. So speaking of the spirit, besides what we've talked about, do you see any other kind of dangers spiritually by allowing ourselves to be enchanted?
Well, so not only spiritual ego, like we brought up, but again, a lot of people looking for that get rich quick scheme. Like you see a lot of people nowadays talking about, you need to just throw away everyone out of your life who doesn't bring you joy. You need to there's so many toxic messages out there spiritually that are not good lessons, that are more shortcuts that end up doing more harm than good. We live in an age of isolation, and isolation's being more touted as I don't want to say a privilege, but as a better course of life. Again, the whole casting people out of your life because they said something wrong or offended you one time.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these different spiritual teachings out there that are just, someone got hurt, someone built a belief structure, and now they are making 1,000 videos on social media trying to push their beliefs so that they can feel validated in their opinions.
Right. And opinions are horrible.
Oh yeah.
You know how I feel about those opinions.
Yep. Too bad we're a PG podcast.
Their little secret judgments.
Yep.
I mean, look, this is literally like feeling like being under a spell, like you read in fairy tales and stuff. When you go too far with this, it's losing sight of truth because you have everything appears to be too beautiful or too ideal or too perfect, and you stop questioning it. You're just like, yep, sounds good to me.
Yep. Feeds that ego or feeds that pain.
Yeah. And look, charisma's not necessarily bad. Beauty is not bad. Even mystery isn't bad. But when you have charisma without character, or beauty without virtue, mystery without substance, it really,
Oh man,
really,
you're on
really.
fire today.
Well, I mean, it starts to really, because we need these things to coexist together. Lots of good people are very charismatic and they have character. They have virtue. They have substance. So, and charisma, beauty, and mystery are kind of the things that kind of trick us into, ooh, I like mystery. Ooh, I like the weird and the strange, and because this is so different. And when you have someone speaking charismatically, you're just like, wow, and you just literally almost get like put under a spell if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking under the spell of a witch or something, but
words are magic. I mean, that's where it
They
came
are.
from, It's like that's the original magic is speechcraft, all right?
Right.
You hear all this lore, you think spell casting is abracadabra and bam, something happens. No.
Yeah.
Words can change realities. All right. You look at political leaders, all it takes is saying the right thing at the right time in the right way, and they can distort everyone's perspective.
We are living in that now on all sides. We're just getting bombarded with it. And it's like, they're great. They're great at it. They're really good at it. That's why, I don't really trust politicians.
Yep.
Very
And
often.
the media doesn't help. It's one of the reasons I'm so detached from politics in general is because
Yeah.
it's not worth trying to weed through everything
Yeah.
when you have very little input or power you can do to anything.
I look at it like this. I never gave a crap about getting their permission to do my works. And I sure as hell don't give a crap about their opinions about anything. I really, really don't. I treat them like I would treat, if I had a person like that in my life who was trying to gaslight me to death. And I see this all over. I see it in our local governments. I see it in our county governments. I see it in the state governments. And it's just, you just can't get away from it.
Well, it's like you look at politics. I mean, every great leader, and by great leader, I just mean someone whose names are in the history books, were all
Right.
narcissists. And I mean, they did
little
what they
bit,
did
yeah.
and they were effective. But to become a politician, you got to be cutthroat and corrupt. We have not had a good democracy where we can actually have these kind of good, virtuous philosophers. I read a book a long time ago, which I recommend to anyone, and it is a very, very old book, Plato's Republic. And he goes into different types of political governments and why they don't work.
See, even back that far, like 5,000 years ago, they were neck deep in this crap. So nothing ever changes sometimes,
Yep.
right? It's just like, ours don't wear togas now. They wear suits.
Yeah, well, the best
or
leaders are the
pantsuits.
ones who don't want to lead.
Right.
And we don't have a society where we promote those kind of people to actually be empowered to get involved in things and make a difference.
No, because we want to see the dazzling things. We want to see the sparkly things.
We want those promises that are going to scratch us just right.
Right. Yeah. So here's the true danger of enchantment, though. It's not them. It's not the politicians. It's not the media. It's not these external forces, although those wear us down and they start to crack our shields, as it were. But the moment it gets dangerous is when you allow those things, is when you start to surrender to those things on the inside, right? Because we want something, we want it to be true so bad. And we just turn off our higher instincts. We silence that inner voice that actually knows better. And when we ignore these red flags because of these things, we betray that deeper wisdom that is there to guide us. And it's like the memes you always see, the guardian angels, and people say, "This is what my guardian angel looks like," and they're just like, it's just like, I don't know what to do with this guy. He just won't stop with the nonsense. So,
well, you got to watch out. You got to keep your individuality in any type of movement. I mean, we had a whole episode about this. I think it was our first ever episode about being involved in causes. but
Yeah.
there's a book,
Yeah.
The Laws of Human Nature, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to just how when we give up our individuality, we will automatically, we're trying to be a part of a bigger group, we will slowly lose our individuality to conform and be a part of and be accepted in groups.
Yeah.
It is human nature. And when this happens, I mean, we give up intuition for acceptance. And
Mhm.
it is so dangerous.
You remember the movie Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Captain America, the Winter
Okay,
Soldier,
yeah.
right? When this Hydra computer program is literally targeting the people that we're talking about who stand up to this stuff, who see it. And look, you become so dangerous to the people who try to disillusion us and take over our minds, basically, and get us trapped in this, that they had the ships ready to just literally kill everyone like that.
You know?
So that it was just
So there's no
sailing
threats.
from there. There's no threats. And it wasn't just some of the superheroes on that list. It was regular people who, like you and me,
Yeah, trying to make a difference.
who
Or could
are
have.
enchanted by this stuff. So, and of course, Ashla calls us to pierce, taking the light as a sword and pierce that illusion, because the spiritual warrior must learn to look through in the enchantment, to perceive the true essence behind it, to be grounded in virtue and principle, not seduced by this glamour or this fake light, this artificial light that is not there to serve you. It's there to, enchant you.
Right. Well, again, unfortunately, that is what most people chase after. They all want that quick get rich quick scheme. They all want that quick pill to make them younger, to make them healthier, without having exercise, without having proper diet. The people are looking for shortcuts and they don't want to put in the work.
Yeah. When you get to the heart of people, most of us just want to live our lives. And most of us don't go looking for fights. Most of us just want to mind our own business. And I won't say love each other. We should, but we at least understand that each person deserves respect. And this is most of us at our cores. So all this stuff outside of us. And it can be religion. It could be politics. It could be, people hating someone for their color of their skin or their sexuality or their gender or whatever. So it's important to call it out.
Yeah.
It's important to call it out as it is, because there is another way. I live that way every single day, and I know you do too. And I know there's tons of you out there that live that way too, where we're just trying to get along.
Yeah.
We're just trying to, grow and make our lives better and hopefully
respect one another. Yeah.
Respect one another, and hopefully through that living we uplift others too to join us. So we have to call it out. And I know we don't like talking about certain things because it's just a vicious circle of bullshit, but we have to call it out sometimes. So it's important. So I'm going to touch upon discernment real quick. And I know we've been talking about it because it is kind of the linchpin here of the topic. And so discernment is more than just this intellectual judgment. If you practice it enough, it becomes a spiritual faculty of your whole entire being, of everything you do. And it's born of this inner stillness, this inner peace we talk a lot about, our emotional refinement, our energetic awareness. It's the ability to perceive truth of things and people and causes and whatever without that noise of ego or bias or illusions. That's where our judgments come from those three things that just...
Yeah.
So discernment begins with listening. And again, today we're talking about listening. We're talking about our entire being, using all our available senses and all the things that bring us information, right?
Yeah.
So it begins with that. It begins with listening, not to just words, but to the energy, to the vibration. How do I want to put this? To not just what someone says and what you hear, but look deeper into their body language. Try to discern the intuition and what they're really thinking or saying behind or underneath those words, in those kind of silent whispers that you can't hear. So how do we start? I'll let you go a few here.
Okay. Well, when practicing discernment, I think the first most important thing is, one, be aware of what your normal judgments are. Where are your normal prejudices? And I don't mean I hate these people or I hate these things, but the normal type of judgments you make. What are your proclivities to your opinions? And when you can be mindful of that, when you enter into a situation, especially when meeting new people, getting involved in different groups, going to different events, learn to be mindful of those so that when you're having these interactions, when those thoughts show up and you get those opinions, be like, question yourself. Never be afraid to question yourself and your opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Allow yourself to be open. Listen to what people have to say, but also watch what people do.
Yeah.
You know, again, the most important relationships are the ones that you cultivate over time, that are consistent, that are steadfast, and that are consistent. That I think consistency is one of the most important things here, because whether it's whatever it is you're trying to discern, consistency will be the key indicator to tell you how true something really is, how much there's an illusion there, or this is the facts on something.
Yeah. You hit them all. You hit all the ones I was gonna suggest. Silence, making space in your time, in your day, to actually sit with these things without judgment and just letting the truth kind of come to the surface. Understanding where our reactions are coming from, as you've said. Observation, all these things, right? Observation, watching without assuming or attachment or judgment, any of that stuff. And honestly, discernment is empowered through humility. Letting go of the need to be right all the damn time, or letting go of the need to be certain. I'm certain that this and this and this and this. That's where stereotypes come from.
Yeah.
There may be a hint of truth in each of these stereotypes that we so often hear, but they're not the whole truth. Not from person to person or group to group or belief to belief. There's only tiny bits of truth with some kind of bullcrap around it, usually.
Yep. And unfortunately, some people are satisfied with just having a little bit of truth and then constructing everything they can around it. Like, be mindful of yourself and others, especially yourself, though. When there's something you want so wholeheartedly to be true in your mind, whether that's opinions especially, and when you find a grain of truth and you decide to say you have a sandcastle.
Right.
Be discerning of how much fluff you're giving one small piece of truth, one small piece of evidence. Allow yourself to be open for debate, discussion. Allow yourself to be open to the opposite being true. One of my favorite practices is if I really feel passionately about something, I'm going to look at the things, the other side of things, to help me get contrasting views so that I'm not so in my own opinion.
Right.
Don't be afraid of challenging your opinions, and don't be upset if your opinion is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what this axiom's talking about. It's really encouraging us to not judge things based on any appearance, whether it's beautiful or not, and to trust our being, our total being, to listen to what is happening in front of us. And sometimes this might take a few weeks, a few months, or a few minutes. But we need to learn to slow down. Take a breath before reacting. Observe before engaging. And, develop that inner stillness. Again, practice refining your intuition. It's a very important part of this. What is my body telling me right now? Does this feel aligned, or is it very dissonant? Is there a lot of static and a lot of noise? I can see their mouth moving and it sounds really great, but what is that nasty noise that's just underneath it, right?
Yeah.
So questioning appearances. Not all that glitters is gold.
Yeah.
Not all who speak of the light walk in it. And as I always do, never take what I say as the gospel. To do your own introspection about the things that I say and the things that I teach, because I really, really, really want you to trust me, but I also really, really, really want you to verify.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. So, and this isn't, I don't take it like someone's suspicious of me or someone's, it's okay. You're supposed to have the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
As I've told you our whole time together as student and teacher, I've always encouraged you to trust me, but verify. If something feels off or something feels, that doesn't really sound right, I implore you to, but I almost kind of demand that you stand up to me, because in that student-teacher relationship, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes
Sometimes the student's the best teacher.
I believe the student is always the best teacher, right? That's what our axioms say. Again, and observe their actions along with the stuff. Don't just get charmed by the words. So, do you have anything you want to leave the audience with today before we get into our affirmations and our exercise?
One thing you brought up a couple times that I want to reiterate Don't judge yourself for having biases. Don't judge yourself for having opinions. Don't judge yourself for being drawn into things that aren't really what they appear.
Hmm.
Awareness is the first step, and this is just like everything else we preach, something that takes practice. Give yourself grace, give yourself love and compassion. This is a non-judgment thing. This is nothing to beat yourself up over, and it's not something to beat other people up over. This is something to just cultivate and add to the skill set to help you become a more aware and more truth-living person.
Hmm. Yeah. And at the end of the day, this axiom is really just kind of cautionary. It's saying just be careful, pay attention, do your homework. And, none of these axioms are mandates ever. We've talked about that before. None of the agreements are mandates. They are just ideals. And some of those ideas are cautionary like this one. So that's well said. Thank you for that. So our affirmations for discernment and inner clarity for our topic today. I see beyond appearances and I trust what I feel in my soul. My discernment is sharp, guided by the light and aligned with truth. I resist the seduction of illusion and walk in clarity and purpose. I do not follow what dazzles. I follow and seek what is real. The force flows through me, revealing what is hidden and guiding me with wisdom. I pause before judgment and listen with both heart and intuition. I honor the beauty of truth over the deception of glamour. Even the shadow cannot hide from the light that I carry within. I trust myself to recognize what serves my highest path. I am not fooled by masks. I am anchored in truth. So our exercise today, seeing with this inner eye, the whole thing. So as always, prepare your space. Find a quiet place. Go to your sanctum, your sanctuary, the place that you practice these things. Sit comfortably. Of course, close your eyes and take those big, deep, beautiful breaths. The next step is we're going to practice a little bit of visualization. And I want you to visualize yourself in a white mist. And in this mist stands a figure or object that initially appears beautiful, radiant, golden, and graceful. Now ask yourself, what energy do I feel beneath this appearance? Does this form carry harmony or distortion? What would I sense if I could not see? Let this mist fall away slowly. Take your time. Does the form change? Does its energy reveal something different? Step 3, we're going to start asking ourselves some discerning questions. Have I ever been deceived by something that seemed perfect? What helped me see the truth? How can I better tune into the unseen, the felt, the known but not visible? And for the next 7 days, at least the next 7 days, whenever you meet someone new or engage with any kind of media, ask yourself, what am I really being shown? How do I feel about this? What am I feeling about this? Where am I feeling this? Does this align with the light? Does it align with my beliefs? Does it align with my higher self? Every day, write a few notes each night on what your inner eye perceived versus what was on the surface of these things. So do you have anything to add to the exercise, Michael?
No, but I like that. I was able to go deep into that one.
Yeah, that one can take you deep. So, take your time with it. So, and you might find nothing the first couple times. Just keep trying. Because we do like to lie to ourselves, and that is the best lie ever told, right?
Ain't that
So
the truth?
you might have to chip through a few layers of ice to get there. So, or a few layers of the bull crap that the world is just piling on us. You could be up to here. Sometimes I'm out to here after just a week and I'm just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you guys with this. Appearances can dazzle. They can seduce our senses and obscure the truth and lead even the wisest into danger. None of us are immune to this. But we who walk the way of Ashla are not called to live just by our sight alone, or even our physical senses alone. We are called to see truly from our entire being through these lenses of discernment and stillness and connection with all the things in the universe. So again, beauty is not the enemy. Charisma is not the enemy. Mystery is not the enemy. But this unconscious admiration can be, and often does lead you to that. True seeing is not just the skill of the eyes. It's a discipline of the soul, of the heart, of our mind, our body, the whole thing, our whole being. So when the world tempts you with spectacle, and those are fun, aren't they sometimes? And when charm feels louder than character, when we start seeing the red flags, and when something seems too good to be true, pause, breathe, listen. You will start to see these masks and these illusions fall away. And as always, stay rooted in your own being. Trust your inner world first. Trust the outer world, but verify. Right?
Yeah.
So if this episode spoke to you, share it, please, with someone who maybe needs to hear this, or if you hear people talking about it, feel free to share it and feel free to talk about this amongst yourselves in your communities and in your social groups. Michael, thank you so much today for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank all of you for being here with us. We really, literally could not do this without you. So with love and gratitude, ad Lucium.
Ad Lucium.